News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. Iran says the first formal talks with the Trump administration over its nuclear program were constructive, with both sides agreeing to meet again next week. The two sides discussed Iran's nuclear program and the lifting of sanctions in a constructive atmosphere and with mutual respect. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said this in a statement after indirect talks that lasted for more than 2 hours. In a statement, the White House labeled Saturday's talks as a step forward. Buyout firm KKR is said to be nearing a deal to buy post-trade services firm Astra, showing that tariff-resilient companies can still be sold. Earlier, we reported the potential buyer was a different company, Chicago-based GTCR. So just making it clear, according to sources, it is KKR. We get more on what's happening from Bloomberg's Denise Pellegrini.
Sources say KKR is nearing a deal to buy Astra for about $3 billion. And that shows that tariff-resilient companies can still be sold. The New York-based firm is in advanced talks to buy Astra, a joint venture controlled by CME and S&P Global. According to the people, who asked not to be identified, a deal could be announced as early as next week. Several private equity firms, including GTCR, Advent International, and CVC Capital Partners, were pursuing Astra, which conducts post-trade services in the Forex and derivatives markets. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
President Trump's administration exempted smartphones, computers, and other electronics from its so-called reciprocal tariffs, representing a major reprieve for global technology manufacturers, including Apple and Nvidia, even if it proves a temporary one. The exclusions, published late Friday by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, narrow the scope of the levies by excluding the products from Trump's 125% China tariff and his baseline 10% global tariff on nearly all other countries. Bloomberg's Josh Wingrove on why the exclusion may exist.
But the reason the exclusion is coming is actually a sign that these products are maybe in line for a tariff of their own. Trump enacted the order in a way that made sure that things or some things wouldn't get double tariffed and that the reciprocal tariffs on countries wouldn't apply to the tariffs that are already going on some sectors. Now, one of those sectors is semiconductors, and the wording of this order that landed Friday night seems to stem from that.
Bloomberg's Josh Wingrove. President Trump promised his Swiss counterpart to look again at levies inflicted on her country just hours before he suspended much of his tariff onslaught on the world. That pledge by the U.S. president was relayed by Karen Keller-Sutter, head of state and finance minister of Switzerland, in an interview with Bloomberg Television.
That, of course, we are unhappy about 31%, which is huge. And so we would like to talk about how, in fact, we can come back to a normal basis of tariffs together. And we both agreed that we have to find a solution. So, as I said, it was very constructive. We both agreed to really find a solution, and he promised to look at the situation, and then we would have a dialogue again.
Karen Keller-Sutter, head of state and finance minister of Switzerland. A big week for the U.S. equity market, with the S&P 500 index having its best week since November 2023. We get more from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet.
For the week, the S&P 500 index was up 5.7%. Stocks rebounded Friday, with the S&P jumping 1.8% on a report that the Federal Reserve is ready to help stabilize markets. Walter Todd is Chief Investment Officer at Greenwood Capital.
Certainly feels better when you get these rallies, but I would just note that, a 9% rally that we had on Wednesday from the tariff pause, that's not the sign of a healthy market, even though it feels good.
This week, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 5%. NASDAQ was up 7.3%. In New York, Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Radio.
Third round of the Masters at Augusta. At last check, Justin Rose even for the day, 8 under overall. He enjoys a one-shot lead. Join us for a special weekend edition of Bloomberg Surveillance tomorrow. Jonathan Ferro and Lisa Abramowitz will take you through the market turmoil and what's ahead for the trading week. It all starts tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Podcasts page on YouTube. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. This is Bloomberg.